I'd like to call to order the March 7th, 2022 full board meeting. First order of business, suspension of the rules, suspend the rules to read that allows the attendance of the meeting telephonically or other similar device. Do I have a motion? Mr. Lightfoot makes a motion, second by Mr. Kern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we'll have a roll call. Kelly?
Reagan. Forsythe.
Here.
Lightfoot.
Here.
Sheridan.
Here.
Smithers.
Here.
Denisha.
Here.
Perkins.
Here.
Akers.
Here.
Fay.
Here.
Haggard.
Here.
Fiacco.
Here.
Burke.
Here.
Arquette.
Here.
Terminelli.
Here.
Curran.
Here. 14 present.
Legislator, Mr. Reagan is excused for this meeting. We have quorum. At this time, do we have Mr. Denisha lead us in prayer, followed by the pledge of allegiance?
Dear Heavenly Father, we give thanks to you for allowing us to assemble here this evening. We pray for those oppressed, O God, and ask for protection and that there would be peace. We pray for restoration and renewed hope. We pray for the families, especially the children, living through the horrors of war and all the upheaval and tribulation it brings. We pray for the entire world community, including the leaders in our own country. Give them the wisdom and ingenuity to respond in ways that end war and moves us all to a world where your peace abides. We ask for your mercy, that it may change the hearts and minds of those who have chosen the path of destruction. We also pray for the family of Elizabeth Howell, who was taken from them at such a young age. And we ask that you heal their broken hearts and fill them with the peace and joy that can only come from you during this most difficult of times. Walk closely beside us all, and may we remember your words in the book of John, chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. For all these things we ask your blessings through your Son, Jesus Christ, through whom all things are possible. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the minutes for the February 7th and February 22nd special board meeting. Motion made by Mr. Perkins, seconded by Mr. Forsythe. Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Bill, we need to approve the agenda too.
And, oh yes, I skipped one, thank you. We need another motion to approve the agenda. Need the motion, Mr. Fay gives the motion, Mr. Akers seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now, February 2019, Boy Scouts, known as Scouts PSA, announced girls would be allowed to join its organization. To form a troop, 5 girls were needed. So Leah Gerard, 17-year-old senior at St. Lawrence Central, rounded up 2 sisters and a couple of friends and formed Troop 1099. Leah received scouting highest rank of Eagle Scout less than 3 years after joining the organization. There are 7 ranks in scouting: Scout, Tenderfoot, Second Class, First Class, Starlight, and Eagle. Each rank has specific requirement and becomes more difficult as a scout moves up. Miss Gerard's achievement of Eagle Scout is rare. According to the Scouts BSA, only 8% of all the Scouts earned Eagle in 2019. So I would, at this point, ask Leah Beth to stand. And Mr. Arkwood, if you would come up, Legislator Arkwood, if you come up and present the certificate, please.
I would, Mr. Chairman, if I could just say a couple more brief words
Certainly
on
you can.
behalf of this achievement, which is monumental to say the least. These, a number of criteria, Chairman Sheridan listed a couple of them, but Leah needed to earn 20-some badges within these last couple or 3 years, and they were first aid, citizenship in the community, citizenship in the nation, citizenship in the world, communications, cooking, personal fitness, emergency preparedness or life-saving, environmental science or sustainability, personal management, swimming, hiking or cycling, camping, family life, serve a minimum of 6 months in a leadership position, propose a plan and carry out an Eagle service project, attend a Scoutmaster conference, pass a board review. And those were just some of the types of things that she had to do over a short period of time to achieve this this unbelievable honor. With her today are her mom, Serena, her father, Mark, Jeff and Amelia. Jeff is her brother and is also an Eagle Scout. So quite an achievement to be an Eagle Scout, but to have two in the family, I think is absolutely amazing. And with all of this, I'd like to present this certificate for you. And I think I can speak on behalf of the entire Board of Legislators to say how proud we are, all are of you for this amazing achievement. Congratulations. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you.
County Administrator Ruth Doyle, if you would come forward and present the flowers and a pen. Very good. I think Leah would like to say some words to us. Go ahead, Leah. Take your time.
So I am a senior in high school. I earned my Eagle Scout rank in 2021. The reason I joined Boy Scouts was because of my brother. I was always really jealous of. My two brothers used to be in Boy Scouts, and they used to go on camping trips, which I was never allowed to do in Girl Scouts. So I was like, I really wanted to do it. So as soon as I was awarded the opportunity, I did it. Hardest part of being in Boy Scouts is the fact that I am a girl. I was denied a lot of opportunities as a girl. I could not find for the longest time enough girls for my own troop. And then you can become a lone scout where you're not associated with the troop. So then I asked to do that and I was not able to because I wanted to encourage girls to join, but they don't do that to the guys. So it's kind of like, I was like, that's not fair. But, my favorite part of being in Boy Scouts is all the volunteering I was able to do. I volunteered at the Watertown Zoo. I cleaned out the area for the otters who were pulling weeds all day. It was you got very dirty doing it. I delivered free Thanksgiving meals through the Messina Methodist Church, which is our charter organization. I've made bread and done gift cards for the senior citizens at LBSH and Fraser. I volunteered at blood drives. We've collected items for foster children, and we've written holiday cards for the military stationed overseas. We've done this in Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. Before I could begin working for my Eagle project, I had to attend a week-long summer camp, and I hate summer camp. So this part sucked a lot. But I went to NYLT, which is National Youth Leadership Training Camp. It's about 2 hours away, which also sucked. I hate being away from home. So, but I learned a lot about, I had to be the youth leader for my troops that was there, which I made a lot of good friends. I still talk to most of them. And then for my Eagle project, I organized and led the building of an agility course for the Potsdam Humane Society. We built ramps, we built jumps for the dogs, we did lead poles, and that was a lot of fun. That's it.
Thank you.
Want to take a moment for photos?
Do you think we can get a group?
Probably
photo?
right out front.
Yeah, maybe have
With
the
their family.
legislators step out front and we'll,
Okay.
not outside, but just out
In the
Okay.
lobby
in the
way.
lobby and we'll get a group
Yeah,
photo.
All right. Group photo?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do a quick one. Yeah. Are they on the TV?
Oh, yeah, they're on the TV. Yeah, to the legislation.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's what she- make sure they have that. Yeah. Get them in the background, Kelly. They should be on there.
Is she a hockey player?
I don't know.
No, she wants to teach
You know
Spanish.
Renee Young?
Next thing on the agenda, folks, is the COVID-19 update with Dr. Williams and Public Health Director Jolene Munger. Go ahead, Jolene, you can start the show.
Thank you. Okay. So as of today, we have 27,733 cases. We have 7 current hospitalizations with 183 individuals that are actively on isolation, and 27,372 have completed isolation. And since March, we've had 178 cumulative deaths. Our daily hospitalizations are on a downtrend, which is what we like to see. And this does include all of our hospitalizations, COVID and incidental. So as you can see, we got rather high again, but in the last week, so for the month of March, we've been around double digits. Our weekly COVID cases are also on the decline so far for this week, and that is only a 6-day time period. We have 257 cases. That is down from last week where we had 364, and the week before that where we had 508. So we are starting to see this nice trend downwards. Our number of daily home tests that are being reported to us are also on the decline, with not many people reporting to us. We had 26 people report a home test today. Over the weekends are always a little bit lower there with all of our testing. We were just under 10 both days. So people are still reporting, just not at the frequency that they were. Our average new daily cases per week for this week, for the 6-day time period, we're at 36.71 cases. This is down from last week where we were at 52 cases per day. And the week prior to that, we were at 72.57. And the week before that, we were at 96. So this is also trending downwards. Our weekly school cases for the month of February, we had a total of 726. For March so far, this for the first week of the month, we've had 69. Our colleges are also seeing the same decline that we're seeing everywhere else. So far for this week, for the 6-day total, we've had 16 college cases. The last few weeks we had 28, and before that they were in the 40s. So we're about half of where we were at the beginning of February. And this shows you where our monthly cases by age group are. So you can see that the highest percentage of cases that we are having is still in that 20 to 44-year-old range, with a lot of the cases it's still in the 20th percentile of being at 0 to 19, with the rest of them 45 and older. And for hospitalizations by age group, we now have it broken out to that COVID and incidental to see the percentage of cases total for the age range, but then how many cases we had each month that are for true COVID or just that they found to have COVID. So far this month, we've had 4 individuals hospitalized for COVID with a case counting date for March. And then we've had last month, we had 34. And then vaccination status. So this is just the percentage, not the rates that we put out in our daily update. So for the month of February, though, 64%, almost 65% of the people hospitalized for COVID only were not vaccinated. So this does go to show that the vaccination is still preventing hospitalizations. Only 35% of the people that were hospitalized for COVID were vaccinated. So for our statistics, we are in a high transmission rate still, and I'll go over this in a couple of slides, but we do have a low community level. According to New York State, our percent positivity is 4.4%. And then the percentage of our total population that is fully vaccinated, we're at 60.5%. And the percent of our population with at least one dose is 64.2. And then the percent of our population that's 5 and older, so our eligible population is 63.7%. And always our 65 plus population is always our best. They're at 85.5%. For our vaccine through our health department, we have done 7,755 first doses, 6,942 second doses, and 4,025 booster doses. For the month of March, we are hosting clinics on Mondays for Pfizer from 8:30 to 4, and that is Pfizer pediatric and adults. And then we're also doing those Fridays from 12 to 4. And then on Mondays, along with the Pfizer, we'll have Moderna. And then on Fridays with the Pfizer, we have Johnson & Johnson. So what are the CDC risk levels? So there's 2 different risk levels now. The one is the one that we've been in that has the low, medium, substantial, and high. And that is the level of community transmission. The new one that came out a couple of weeks ago is the COVID-19 community levels, and they both look at different factors. So the level of community transmission is looking at the new cases per day and the percentage of positive tests during the past 7 days. Whereas the community levels is looking at the new cases per 100,000, along with new COVID admissions and the percent of staffed inpatient beds. So the community levels are focusing more on the severity of the disease, whereas the community transmission is solely looking at the number of cases, the positive cases and new cases per 100,000. And I know it's been a little bit confusing because depending on what page on the CDC you're on, it's hard to know which one we're looking at. So we did add it to our local COVID stats. So you can see that we, instead of having to go to the CDC, because the CDC map is only updated on Thursdays, we are providing it Monday to Friday with our statistics with the numbers as well. So if you wanted to recalculate it, you could do that. And then the update to masking. So effective Wednesday, March 2nd, masks became optional in school settings, except for individuals who are on days 6 through 10 of quarantine or isolation. Masking is still required in healthcare facilities, nursing homes, adult care facilities, correctional facilities, detention centers, homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, and any public transit or transportation hubs, as well as trains, planes, and airports in accordance with the federal regulations. And masking is also recommended by the CDC in areas of high community levels. And so one question that we get is what to do if I'm sick, because our COVID levels are declining, but people are still getting sick. So if you're not feeling well, you should still stay home from work or school and any activities where you may be in close contact with people. Just because it's not COVID doesn't mean it's not something that you can transmit to somebody else. So take a COVID test, call your primary care provider to discuss your symptoms, and just remember that COVID and other communicable diseases are still prevalent throughout our community, and to keep that in mind when you're not feeling well. And then just a reminder, if you do take a home test, it is optional to report a home test, but we are still recommending it because if you need verification for any reason, if you don't report it to us within 48 hours of taking it, it's not something we can verify for you. And that's all that I have. Dr. Williams?
So good evening. I'm going to keep this hopefully short and sweet because it's mostly good news. So if you look again at COVID on a national level, you see that the number of new cases continue to plummet. And if you look at the summary of all the trends for the US, every indice is favorable. So we continue to have a decrease in cases, decrease in hospitalizations, decrease in the number of people in ICU, and a decrease in the number of deaths. If you look at the geography, most areas of the US are now this much lighter color, which shows that there are fewer cases. There are still a few areas including the sort of New Hampshire and Maine, West Virginia and Kentucky, and then Montana and Idaho, where there's still a higher level of cases than the rest of the country. If you look at the map of New York State, and this is from the Mayo Clinic, and if you look at this scale of the average daily new cases per 100,000, what you see is the entire state is this pretty color yellow. And this is just reflecting the significant decrease in cases that's really across the state. If you look at the St. Lawrence County compared to other counties in New York State, and these numbers, this is from a single day, this is from COVID Act Now, but it shows that we're still higher than some other counties. We're number 4 in the state out of 62 counties, but we're seeing not nearly as much COVID as we had before. If you look at hospitalizations, this is for New York State in general, and this is since the beginning of the pandemic. Again, you see this plummeting number of hospitalizations. If you look at our region, it's pretty much the same story. We're still, higher than we'd like to be with hospitalizations, but we're much lower than we have been. So just to summarize, the Omicron-driven surge of COVID is clearly on its way out. It's ending. It's not over, but it's ending, both on a national, regional, and local level. The mitigation measures that we've been talking about for all this time can now be safely de-intensified, not discontinued, because as Jolene mentioned, certainly in certain environments, masks are still necessary. So it's a de-intensification process that's appropriate. I think it's pretty clear that there's a combination of both vaccine and infection-induced immunity that's fairly substantial in most communities in the United States, and certainly including St. Lawrence County. I think we've gained significant understanding of both how to prevent through vaccination and mitigation measures, but also how to treat COVID-19 infections, both on the outpatient arena and also for inpatients. And then finally, I think it's very important for us to do some significant analysis to look at what public health measures really helped, what public health measures maybe didn't, so that for future pandemics or future versions of the COVID pandemic can be more effectively managed. And then I think the million-dollar question is, what's next as far as COVID? What's clear right now is that there is no new variant on the horizon. So I'm going to end my presentation with this rather favorable picture. Happy to answer your questions.
Any questions in that?
What about flu?
Go ahead, read it, go ahead.
So I've had quite a few people call and question if they can have the map back to show how many infections are in which community. There's a number of older people that have stated that they sort of use it to plan, like, who do they go visit, and like, where are they going shopping, and where are we gonna go out to dinner, to know if all of a sudden there's a new cluster in a town or a village. So I don't know how much people time it takes to throw one of those maps together every day, but there's a group of people who are feeling that it would be helpful still to the community. Anybody?
Bill,
Did
I can speak to that.
Could you hear the question?
I can speak to that.
Okay, go ahead.
I can speak with planning staff regarding that. That was certainly when we had 200-300 cases a day is a different time demand than it is now, and have them speak to that at operations.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about the flu? Is that still low, or is it starting to climb?
It's definitely here, but it has not taken off in our county. I looked at the data from this past week, and in the end of February, we've had a few clusters of cases. It has not taken off at this point. This is a time of the year where we often see a transition from influenza A to influenza B. And I mean, I suppose one concern, especially with the schools, is that now that kids aren't wearing masks, it's certainly conceivable that you'll see an uptick in flu in the next weeks to come, in the weeks to come. But
Any other questions? No further questions. Thank you very much, Dr. Jolene. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is communications. Kelly, do you have communications for us?
I do.
tonight?
An email was received from Jane Lammers on behalf of the Board of Directors of the North Country Children's Museum, saying in a survey regarding American Rescue Plan funding, the Children's Museum received overwhelming support from citizens, and the committee for the Children's Museum is requesting $150,000 to support current expansion of the museum. An email was received from Marty Fowler of Messina, saying it's in the best interest of the people of St. Lawrence County that the Board of Legislators protect its citizens and put out a press release to inform people of the dangers of crossing the northern border and entering into Canada at this time. An email was received from Rachel Raven of Governor, asking the board to do their due diligence to resolve issues and work towards a healthier future for children. She said she remains eager to work together towards a change to a broken system. That's all I have.
Thank you, Kelly. Next on the agenda is citizen participation. Any citizen wanting to address the board is asked to come to the podium, speak, and state your name before you begin, please. Citizen participation is in the form of an oral address directed to the members of the board. This part of the agenda is not a time for audio, visual, PowerPoint presentations or performances. And the address will be limited to 5 minutes. The first person that we have that will speak tonight will be William Rome.
Greetings, hope you're all well and healthy. God bless everyone here. This is an election year, and this body will be losing a hardworking individual, Mr. Akers. He recently said he will not seek re-election. Unfortunately, he'll be leaving behind a body a little less honorable with him gone. Ethical investigations, judicial complaints, heinous crimes, hurting people and property, lack of integrity through public consent, releasing sensitive material to groups. Some of you people like the power, some of you people are bullies, some of you people appoint family and friends nepotistically. During the pandemic, the character of this legislature at home was sad. I saw some of you sleeping, some of you were playing catch with your dog. Monitors were shut off during public presentation. I hope you all don't seek re-election and you take the honorable path of Mr. Akers. I see none of you standing on a platform. If I were to endorse a candidate, I'd like to see maybe economic growth through broadband and cell towers. Maybe we protect victims of sexual abuse and trafficking. Conservation of our environment, best practices for natural resources, mental health facilities, repurposing current buildings, create essential school administration district, promote an agricultural diversification like hemp and hops, feasibility for a high-speed rail from Plattsburgh to Watertown, use and protection of our electrical grid and alternative power. We live in a 30% culture. That means some of you are hiding and some of you are victims of non-consensual sex. God forgives you who committed it. God forgives you who experienced it. We need to make a better difference. A 17-year-old girl committed suicide. She graduated early from Madrid-Waddington Central School. She was working full-time as a CNA at United Helpers. We talked about this in August, about 2 other teenagers who committed suicide. And of course, there was Triana. All these children were observed by school districts. We need prevention and answers. The Waddington superintendent was an administrator at Lisbon where another suicide took place. They allow suspected predators, sexual predators to become subs because the school board approves the list. The school board president at Waddington teaches at Hewelton where N-I blank, blank, E-R was written on the gym floor with students. These fiefdoms threaten our children. We need to centralize an administration. The state police are the gold standard of training in law enforcement. We need a training facility for our police. Ogdensburg Correctional Facility would be a great option to repurpose for training. Moving inmates there from Rikers will have more deleterious consequences for Ogdensburg community already inundated with meth. St. Lawrence County is economically depressed. 20% of the families live below poverty level. Of the 10,000 families in the county, the average salary is $50,000. Daycare costs $10,000. 30% of our population receives public assistance. We need economic growth in this county. The future for anything is electric. Electric filling stations, high-speed rail, opening up the North Country to global economic platform through 5G capability. 20 electrical substations can be shut down in the United States, and that would be enough to shut down the grid nationally. We live in a beautiful, raw area. It is now being covered with solar panels and wind turbines. Yet we pay premium for electricity. Bitcoin mines should pay an energy tax. I would also like to see some of the county's energy stay in the county and protecting us from power losses. Our citizens should not pay for electricity going elsewhere. Okay, so in closing, I appreciate everything that I've been allowed to say to you guys this past year. I really want to be involved in this organization. Therefore, I would like to announce my candidacy for county legislator.
Francine Griffin.
I'm here to talk about the two agencies hired by this county to investigate wrongdoing in CPS cases. We heard many different stories of who will be interviewing complainants and DSS employees. Long story short, Hancock Estabrook Law Firm is interviewing DSS employees and complainants, and Bonadio is out of it. I talked to a legislator about my concerns, and I was assured that Hancock Estabrook was interviewing complainants, and Bonadio was interviewing DSS employees, stating we are not sending people who have talked to DSS people to interview complainants. And then it would become a situation of who do we believe? Then we aren't getting a good investigation when we're done. I was questioning Bonadio and an attorney from Hancock about their roles in the investigation, and if Bonadio had the governmental authority to investigate in a manner we were being told. Contacted by an attorney from the law firm, and he stated I was to direct my questions to him going forward, and he wanted to meet me with my concerns. I met with this attorney last week, and two individuals went with me because they really wasn't comfortable talking to a super attorney alone. The individuals were asked to leave. And in the end, they asked if I could speak to my attorney, and he said yes. Meeting was over. I stated that he said the meeting was to address my concerns, and I wanted to discuss them. He stated that Bonadio is doing audit-type work, procedures, regulations, and compliance with state regulations, and make recommendations. Hancock Estabrook was interviewing DSS employees and complainants, and the information, collecting information. I asked who the information was being turned over to, and he stated the county administrator. I asked what she was going to do with it. He stated, I don't know. I have since found out that it was going to be this board. Some who have said there's no wrongdoing. He stated that he went through my files and he talked to a DSS supervisor about my case. I didn't name a supervisor in my complaint and I'm caseworkers. So I kind of know how that probably went. And yet they want us to talk to super attorneys alone. I'll tell you one thing, I'm not gonna meet with a super attorney alone without an attorney with me. I don't think this is an independent investigation, knowing that Hancock Estabrook has represented this county before in the past. They know DSS employees, county employees, some on this board, and they're interviewing both sides. As a taxpayer, I kind of wonder why a public agency was not investigating instead of paying two groups hundreds of thousands of dollars. I still contend that the county should never be involved in any way, shape, or form investigating county employees. After my meeting with the attorney from Hancock Estabrook and having concerns about this investigation, I filed a complaint for the Inspector General's office, inquiring if they could investigate how this county is conducting this investigation. Wouldn't it be nice if this county could set up precedent by admitting the corruption in CPS and family court systems and make reforms, instead of being known by all the surrounding counties as the worst county around for failing miserably in their CPS and family court systems? These issues are not selective to this county. It's a nationwide problem, everyone knows it. It's ludicrous to deny wrongdoing. Fighting corruption is hard and it seems insurmountable, but it's not possible. No oversight or accountability is the #1 reason for corruption. The corruption in family court and CPS needs to be exposed. Our lawmakers need to reform them. Some solutions might be applying rules of criminal court to CPS cases, criminal charges beyond a reasonable doubt, no preponderance of evidence. This alone will solve many problems. Independent oversight of CPS and family court. How about closed circuit TV, sound recordings in family court, including their behind the door meetings? I bet quality of judgments would improve. Too many children have and will age out of a system forever damaged by the corruption and bad judgment of those in family court and CPS. Who here is actually interested enough to bring reform and pass laws to stop corruption in CPS and family court? Thank you.
Next, we have David Rodbeck.
I apologize. I signed the thing. I'm just here to see and to learn what's going on here with the Board of Legislators.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't know there was a list.
Say your name.
Oh, yes. Hi, Zachary McGee. I'm a professor at St. Lawrence University. I just wanted to thank the board for having my class, my Congress class here today. As you know, I'm a big believer in being able to see and experience the civic experience of being in a democratically elected government and seeing it function. I think you guys are a great example of that. And I really wanted to thank County Administrator Doyle for the logistical help, as well as legislators Haggard and Reagan for reaching out and helping make this happen for me, and all of you who reached out and encouraged me to do this. I'm hoping that this is the first in a long line of fruitful partnership between the government department at St. Lawrence University and the county government. I also just wanted to let you know that this class actually meets at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So at 8:30, we're going to sneak out because I don't think I can get away with more than a 12-hour gap for my students. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice having this group. I think Lawrence is a good school. Okay, let's move on to presentation of resolutions. Ms. Kern.
Mr. Chairman, I have a resolution authorizing the chair to sign the amended contract, extending the terms for the cybersecurity remediation grant and modifying the 2022 budget for the Board of Elections. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers and Mr. Arkwood. And is there any discussion? Don't see any discussion. We have a roll call vote, Kelly?
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette. 14 yes, 1 absent.
Vote carries. Ms. Curran?
Chairman, I have a resolution modifying the 2022 budget for the Sheriff's Office for a 2020 Law Enforcement Terrorism Prevention Program grant from the New York State Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers. Any discussion? Any discussion? We have another roll call vote?
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins, Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Carried. Ms. Curran?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a resolution modifying the 2021 budget for the Sheriff's Office for related overtime expenses for the civil and correctional divisions, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Akers, Mr. Forsythe. Is there any discussion? Don't see any discussion. We have a roll call vote again?
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Ms. Curran?
I have a resolution modifying the 2022 budget for the Sheriff's Office for medical services at the correctional facility, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Akers and Mr. Forsythe. Any discussion? See any discussion? We have another roll call.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Ms. Curran?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a resolution for the approval of bad debt write-off for the probation department, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Perkins. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No, it's a roll.
That's a roll call.
Roll call?
Mhm.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
No.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
No.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
12 yes, 2 no, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Ms. Curran?
I have a resolution, Mr. Chairman, for authorizing the chair to sign a contract with New Paradigm Psychological Services, PLLC, for counseling services for their probation department. Can I move that resolution?
Seconded by Mr. Fay. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adjourned.
I have a resolution proclaiming March 2022 as National Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in St. Lawrence County, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers. Any discussion? No discussion. Yes, Ms. Kern.
I would just note that normally colorectal screening starts at 50. The new recommendation is age 45 because there was people who were being missed and when they finally were found, the cancers were latent instead of early. So the new recommendation is age 45, and I just wanted to know that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Ms. Kern.
I have a resolution proclaiming March 2022 as Problem Gambling Awareness Month in St. Lawrence County, and I move this resolution.
Seconded by Dave Forsythe. Any discussion? Mr. Akins.
Definitely in support of this resolution. I just want to note the hypocrisy of New York State in using funds of this, of their own lottery for actually treatment of gambling issues while they're producing sexy commercials advocating for you could have this dream or have this lifestyle, anybody could win and this is for you. It's the hypocrisy that a lot of this money is supposed to be used, the gambling proceeds for the New York State Lottery is supposed to be used for educational purposes, which it has not been in the past, not to the fullest extent. Definitely support this resolution.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chair, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with the New York State Department of Health for the lead poisoning prevention program grant and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers. Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Don't see any discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a memorandum of understanding between the St. Lawrence County Public Health Department and Dr. Lisa Kirby, veterinarian, for rabies clinics and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Akers and Mr. Fay. Any discussion? Don't see any discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Health Research Incorporated, New York State Department of Health, for epidemiology and laboratory capacity, COVID-19 enhanced detection, and modifying the 2022 budget for the Public Health Department, and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Denisha. Any discussion? See any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Fiaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution accepting performance incentive achievement award funds and modifying the 2022 budget for the Public Health Department, and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Perkins and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Don't see any discussion. Roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Fiaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
14 yes, one absent.
Resolution carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract between the Children's Home of Jefferson County and the St. Lawrence County Local Government Unit for the provision of health home care management service dollars and modifying the 2022 budget for community services and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers. Any discussion?
Please skip one.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Did I miss one?
Yeah. Number 13.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Pharmacist.
I'm at the top of the page. 13.
Yeah, I missed that one, Mr. Chairman, my apologies.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Dr. Danny Seacon for pharmacist services for the Public Health Department and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe. And discussion? I don't see any discussion. And all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract between the Children's Home of Jefferson County and the St. Lawrence County Local Government Unit for the provision of home health care management service dollars and modify the 2022 budget for community services and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call.
Perkins.
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Fiaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
14 yes, one absent.
Carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Citizen Advocates for the Mobile Access Program clinical assessments and modifying the 2022 budget for community services and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers and Mr. Perkins. Is there any discussion? No discussion. We have a roll call on this vote, or on this resolution.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Fiaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
I will be abstaining due to employment.
Forsythe,
Yeah.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
13 yes, one abstain, one absent.
Resolution carried. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution modifying the 2022 budget for community services for funding received from the New York State Office of Mental Health to St. Lawrence County as pass-through funding to approved agencies and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe. Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Fiaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins.
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
14 yes, one absent.
Carries. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chair, I offer a resolution modifying the 2021 budget for social services for administration, medical assistance, temporary assistance, and services, and move for its adoption.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe. Any discussion? Well, discussion, we have a roll call vote.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
yes,
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Motion carries. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign roadside mowing contracts. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern and Mr. Perkins. Any discussion? Is there any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Go ahead, Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution for authorization to enter into a cooperative agreement with Franklin County Highway Department for road salt through the 2022-2023 St. Lawrence County salt bid. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern and Mr. Smithers. Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Akers.
Just like to know, I'd like to thank our highway superintendent, Mr. Chambers, for his duty, and they actually were saving the county about $30 a ton by his foresight.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution approving federal aid highway project supplemental agreement number 5 for additional funding for final design for the County Route 35 on the Slab City Bridge over the Trout Brook, bin number 3341-700, bin number 775394. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Kern and Mr. Forsythe. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign supplemental agreement number 2 with Stantec Consulting Services for additional engineering and design services for County Route 35 Bridge over Trout Brook. Bin number 3341-700, pin number 775394, and modifying the 2022 budget of the Department of Highways, and move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Let's see, any discussion? Roll call vote, please, Kelly.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
yes,
Arquette, Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution approving federal aid local project supplemental agreement for right-of-way incidentals for the Lazy River Road Bridge over Grass River Federal Aid Highway Project. Bin number 3341, 820, pin number 775332. I move this resolution.
Second by Mr. Denisha and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? I don't see any discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great.
Mr. Chairman,
I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign an agreement between United Helpers, Inc. and St. Lawrence County for the recovery and recoupment of pass-through funding overpayments, and move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe and Ms. Kern. Discussion. Mr. Denisha.
Mr. I will be including the salt, report on this with my wife's treatment.
So noted. Any other discussion? No further discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with extension of Auctions International Inc. for property tax auction services for foreclosed real properties in St. Lawrence County, and move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe. And discussion? Don't see any or hear any discussion. Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Great.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Vanessa and Company to prepare the annual indirect cost allocation report for the fiscal years 2021, 2022, and 2023. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern, Mr. Perkins. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Draken.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with Excellus Blue Cross Blue Shield to purchase stop loss insurance and modifying the 2022 budget. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Perkins and Ms. Kern. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That's a roll call, Bill.
One more time.
We'll need a roll call on that one.
Roll call on. All right, let's go to the roll call, Kelly.
Burke,
Yes.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins, Akers,
Yes.
Bay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Mr. Drake.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing wage increases for positions categorized as flat rate medical providers. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Kern. And discussion? No discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Straight.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the treasurer to modify the PY 21 Viola budget for transfer of formula funds from dislocated worker accounts to adult training accounts. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern. Any discussion? No discussion. Roll call vote.
Arquette,
Yes.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
Yes.
Sheridan,
Yes.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Bay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piaco,
Yes.
Burke,
Yes.
14 yes, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Mr. Drake.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the approval of payment in lieu of taxes agreement.
We lost you in the boardroom.
Connection.
Okay.
Attending electronically.
Take the vote over, okay?
Go ahead.
Okay. It's been seconded, there's been discussion, all in favor?
Yeah, they can. You can hear us on the other end, right?
Yes, we can hear you.
We've had a second, we've had discussion, all in favor of the resolution by Mr. Akers, number 29. Opposed? Anyone opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
while he's bringing them back online, address the class, if I could,
Yes.
while he's bringing them back online.
Yes.
So you're hearing a lot of these votes, motion second, no discussion. And while that might seem like government and fast forward, the other Mondays of the month, we hold 3 committees.
Please enter the meeting passcode followed by the pound sign.
Operations, services, and finance, and all the county departments report to one of those 3 groups. So they're chaired by members of this body, and that's where the department heads will come in. They'll make their pitch, if you will, or address the challenges. But typically every Monday, so you're welcome to join us anytime. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Very well. Mr. Akers?
And if I could add to our administrator's report, there's 15 legislators, and we each represent about 7,000 people. And it's a mixture of Republicans, Democrats, and independents. So we each are assigned our townships. Actually, Canton has actually 3 representatives because it's split in. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign a contract with NCC Systems Inc. for security system equipment installation and maintenance for the opioid treatment program. I move this resolution.
Yeah, let me catch up to you.
It's number 30, Mr. Chair.
Well, I don't have a number 30 for some reason.
The one after the solar project parcel.
Top of the next page, Beth.
Oh.
You got that?
Okay. It's the one authorizing the chair to sign a contract with NCC Systems?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Do we have a second? Mr. Kern, any discussion? Yeah, Mr. Akers?
So this has been almost a 2-year project here, recognizing the need for some type of alternative program for those that have substance abuse problems. And methadone is something that this board has actually recognized as a viable treatment for someone who's hooked on heroin or some other substance. The nearest methadone treatment program is actually in Watertown, which is 85 miles away, and the other one is in Plattsburgh, which is about 110 miles. So we're in a kind of a desert no land for actually treatment. So the alternatives here now are Suboxone or Vivitrol. And so this is with the methadone program, it allows people to get their dosage, a certified medical dosage that on a daily basis and for 6 days a week. And then on the seventh day, they would be sent home on Saturday with an additional dosage for Sunday. So took it a while. We initially, the St. Lawrence Health Systems had bid on the project or were deemed to be the best provider for this service. And they failed at the end of the contract. They did not initiate it. So our county, which was chosen second, is actually going to step up in the program to be offered here in Canton, which will coordinate well with the mental health services that we have also. I think this is a big step for St. Lawrence County for people in need. For too long, we've suffered too many overdoses. If you read the paper, the local paper, you'll see them almost on a weekly basis. So we hope that we can provide this service to the people of St. Lawrence County and help people at the same time.
Okay, so Mr. Akers made the motion. We've got a second. Second by Mr. Perkins and Ms. Kern. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers?
If I can, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to defer to Trail Chairman, Mr. Arquette.
Thank you, Mr. Akers. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to offer a resolution in support of all train vehicle and snowmobile access and the recently acquired New York State Conservation easement lands known as the South Grass River Tract and the Cranberry Forest and the Fritz passage.
Seconded by Ms. Kern. Mr. Perkins. Any discussion? Yes, Mr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The state purchased nearly 8,000 acres of land recently in the heart of St. Lawrence County, where our motorized recreation, including our multi-use trail, which is not necessarily motorized, but our multi-use trail, it's in the heart of it. It's a big chunk of land that what we're doing with this resolution is formally requesting to utilize portions of that recently purchased land for responsible use with our St. Lawrence County multi-use trail. We've been moving on this initiative since 2006. Our efforts doubled or tripled in 2014. We continue to work on it to provide as much riding for our residents, for our visitors. But what the big push on this project is to create revenue through the industry of motorized recreation. So it's very important to us. We've got a lot of time and effort into this, and I hope that the state of New York and the DEC realize how important it will be for us to utilize portions of this land for recreational use.
Any other discussion? No more discussion, so we'll have a vote. All in favor of the resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution modifying the 2022 budget for the county clerk's office for a license plate cutter for the Department of Motor Vehicles. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Smithers. Any discussion? Mr. Lightfoot.
As I stated in committee, I think it's an exorbitant price, $9,000 to be paying for something to cut aluminum license plates. I think it could be done with the equipment that other counties use, manually operated, simple, and costing less than $300 or $400. So I will be voting against this resolution.
Any others, Ms. Kern?
So I looked up online about this, and there's a company that makes funny signs out of cut up pieces of license plates. They use the different letters to spell things, and they sell them for like $45, $50 a sign. They get them because they buy the chopped up license plates from the counties in different states. They cut them specifically so they're in between the letters. So it'd be interesting to see what our license plates might be worth on the open market once they're cut into little letters.
Any other discussion? Mr. Akers.
So if I recall, I think we're cutting 2,000 per month, Ruth. Mrs. Doyle.
I don't have that number in front of me, Mr. Chair, but I can get it for you.
So cutting 2,000 a month requires quite a bit of time. Actually, Mr. Lightfoot is right. I mean, you can buy, basically it's like a paper cutter for about $300. This piece of equipment is safety oriented, not handling, and we can do multiple license plates at the same time. If we could, I did see Mr. Grant, our buildings ground supervisor, is he with us? Dylan? Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Grant to speak to this again, the particulars.
Can you hear us, Mr. Grant?
Yes, I can.
Mr. Grant, could you tell us how many license plates you're doing weekly and how much time you're being spent on it now and the safety issues?
Yes, right now we share approximately 2,000 funds, and we spend probably on the average of at least probably 6 hours a week sharing plates. That's typically 2 people at a time. You're looking at basically 12 man hours a week. The first month, it is actually more than that, because we go out and collect all the plates from the satellite, bring back, can be as much probably as 20 cases. I'm not sure the number, but it's a large group of plates that we do once a month, and then everything else is done weekly.
If I follow.
Mr. Akers?
And currently, we charge $1 or $2 a plate for a return. So the cost, if we're cutting 2,000 plates per month, the cost of this $9,000 expenditure be recovered fairly quickly, and then in the man hours also.
I believe you're correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Denise?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When we first discussed this, the license plate cutter, and Mr. Grant said that there have been some injuries that have occurred using the current device. And so, you know, I don't look at this as an expense. I look at this as a cost avoidance. If we can avoid someone being injured We've got all the associated things that come along with it, monetary, non-monetary. If we can avoid that, it's well worth the $9,000.
Mr. Forsythe.
Some would call it the cost of doing business. We are a self-insured entity for our workers' comp. So the injuries Mr. Dinesh speaks about, repetitive motion injuries is the new norm. It's an ever-growing workers' comp claim. And if this helps deter that, by golly, it's a good investment, $9,000.
Mr. Lightfoot.
There are several counties that use this. The one that I spoke to, or more than one that I spoke to, but the one that uses the particular type of equipment that is being referred to, much like a paper cutter, has used it for 12 years, has never had an injury, including a repetitive motion claim for workers' comp. I'm just saying that I think it is, I understand that where other people are coming from on this, but understand where I'm coming from. I think it looks like hell to spend $9,000 on a piece of equipment to do something we're not even required to do. We're not required to cut those plates in two. If we bent them in two and sent them to the recycling place, I think that would more than do it. Back in years past, all that was required was that they painted over the numbers. I can understand where you could easily remove paint, but I think with a bent license plate going directly to a recycling organization, more than fits the requirements of the state for eventually destroying these things. And make no mistake about it, a bent plate goes to a recycling location. They are the ones that take care of it. We are looking at a piece of equipment that, in addition to the $9,000 cost, is required to have a servicing contract that we're going to have to pay for. It is on higher voltage than the normal equipment, the copy equipment and computer equipment that we use. So, yeah, I see where you guys are coming from that are not on the same page that I am with this, but I just think looking at it on its face, it's too expensive. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Mr. Burke.
Our head of buildings and grounds reviewed the purchase, and to my understanding, he's endorsed it. It's his staff that he has to delegate time away from their normal duties to do this. And the bigger picture is we have a department, motor vehicles, that brings in profits of over $1 million, well over $1 million a year. And we're looking at quibbling over $9,000. It's employee safety. I mean, Larry hit it right on the head. It's employee safety. I can't comprehend. I mean, imagine if we look to this level of minutia for all the highway equipment. I mean, I would think as legislators, we would put our trust in our department heads and listen to them when they make recommendations that seem to be reasonable.
Mr. Lightfoot.
Last comment, there's an old saying, if you watch the pennies, the dollars take care of themselves. We should be watching the pennies. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Time for a roll call vote.
Terminelli,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Forsythe,
Yes.
Lightfoot,
No.
Sheridan,
No.
Smithers,
Yes.
Denisha,
Yes.
Perkins,
Yes.
Akers,
Yes.
Fay,
Yes.
Haggard,
Yes.
Piacco,
Yes.
Burke,
yes,
Arquette,
Yes.
12 yes, 2 no, 1 absent.
Resolution carries. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer resolution authorizing the filling of vacancies. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Mr. Forsythe. Mr. Kern. And Mr. Major.
Mr. Chairman, I would offer an amendment to this resolution. And that would be to remove bottom position. The buildings and grounds supervisor, position number 303-200-002. The reason I'd like to amend it is for further review. Second.
Seconded by Mr. Perkins. Discussion on amendment, there isn't. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now for the amended resolution. We need a motion to. Is there a second on the original resolution? Mr. Perkins?
Yeah, I did the second.
And any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Burke.
Mr. Chairman, I offer a resolution authorizing the chair to sign the 22-23 Alternatives to Incarceration Service Plan contract and seek its approval.
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have the county administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank the professor for bringing the class this evening. Happy to have all of you here. I hope you found at least 1 or 2 items of interest to you tonight. And a shameless plug, I urge you all to explore a career in municipal government. As a career path in the future, finish your degree, my humble advice, and travel if it is safe. Make your own way in this world. We certainly need more leaders. By way of COVID update, just to follow up on Dr. Williams and Jolene's comments this evening, I have talked with them this morning about potentially not preparing updates any longer unless there's a change in circumstances, or if legislators would like to hear an update. So the report you heard this evening was their last. We probably could go to quarterly. If things change, we will certainly talk about that. COVID-19 supplies, our distribution is underway for towns, villages, and for the city. Each employee at the county received 3 KN95 masks and 3 test kits this time. So we're making those distribution arrangements this week for the towns, villages, and city. Our hope is that provides a more local option than did the Canton distribution event that we had. And certainly if supplies continue to arrive in the volume that they have, it's very likely that we'll make another distribution event plan in the near future. Also, I'm not sure if you heard the discussion from Jolene with regards to testing options. I think the volume has been such between St. Lawrence Health Systems and at our public health clinic that they're reducing those days from Monday, Wednesday, Friday to Monday, Friday. And I believe they're also looking at St. Lawrence Health Systems no longer serving the Canton site for testing. Our reporting continues to evolve. We have our new format that now includes the COVID-19 community levels, and that's what's been established to provide the option for schools no longer to mask. So if you look at the COVID reporting each day, you'll see a designation high, medium, or low, and it also has the metrics we're using to measure that. Our COVID work group, which has met since March of 2020, is now scaling back modestly to 2 times per month. Certainly, again, the option to scale up if need requires. Our current state of emergency is scheduled to expire tonight at midnight. It is not our plan nor our recommendation at this time to renew that state of emergency. Masking is no longer required here in county facilities, with a few exceptions related to corrections and healthcare. However, the court system that we share this building with continue to require masking, but they are looking at reducing their spacing from 6 feet to 3 feet. And that should allow the grand jury proceedings to move back upstairs. Last week on Thursday, we held the 220th anniversary of St. Lawrence County. On each of your desks, you should find the program that was included for our celebration. And on it, there's a lapel pin for each of you to take with you tonight. Legislators attending electronically will make sure to get those to you. Also, you should find a scroll that has a copy of the resolution signed by Deputy Clerk Kelly Pearson and imprinted with the county seal. We were fortunate to receive proclamations given to us by Assemblyman Smullen and Senator Ritchie, and a joint proclamation issued by Assemblyman Blankenbush and Assemblyman Walsich. So we're very fortunate to have representatives from their offices present, and a group of about 35 to 40 people who joined us throughout the morning, which was the final culmination was we gathered only a few yards from where we believe the documents were signed incorporating St. Lawrence County in 1802. So you'll be able to see some of those pictures. We'll share those with you very soon. Staff are gearing up for the trail season. You heard the resolution this evening. They're working to get ready for the May 15th opening. If you recall, last year, we geared up very quickly for the season and got those passes out and had a tremendous season. And our interest this year is even having more time to prepare, work with local businesses, and get prepared for that season and get those passes out even earlier. So stay tuned for more information on that. Vacancy Review Committee is scheduled for tomorrow at noon. We have 9 departments that will be requesting positions with 14 on the agenda. We have currently a vacancy rate of 7%. That's about 60 positions of the 839 in county government. We're also currently at a 91% immediate fill rate, 4.6% on the 30 days, and a modest 3.4 on those that have been held or withdrawn throughout the process. So by and large, we continue with the immediate fill rate that the board has endorsed. Last couple of items, no meeting next week as the New York State Association of Counties will be gathering Sunday to Wednesday in Albany. The Operations and Services meeting will be held on Monday, March 21st, and Finance on the 28th. Mr. Chair, if there's no other questions for me, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions in the room? In the spring, no, we're free.
All right.
Okay, next we move on to old and new business. Mr. Corson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last month in February, we brought forward a resolution number 69-2022, which was amending the existing health insurance buyout for St. Lawrence County employees. Since that meeting, we met with the unions. They had some concerns, and in the best interest of all parties involved, I believe it would be good to offer a motion to reconsider that resolution.
Motion's been made to reconsider. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Akers. There is no discussion on a motion to reconsider, so we'll go right to the vote. And then once it's back on the floor, we can have our discussion. So it's been seconded, and all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Now that it's back on the floor, we need a motion to do what you want to do. Want to make a motion to pass that resolution?
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, the resolution now is back on the floor.
Yes.
Back on the floor.
For discussion or a vote.
Yes. So the resolution is on the floor. And
I think Mr. Forsythe
any
wanted to speak
discussion on
to
it? Is there any discussion because the motion is back on the floor? No discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Forsythe.
Okay, as I stated earlier, back in February, I think we had the best intentions with the resolution we brought forward. The resolution was to pick up the, when we changed our health insurance plan back in 2017, we offered a buyout to employees that would opt to not participate in our plan. Most private sector businesses do that. It's worked well for them, so we thought it would be a good idea. What was excluded from that was some of the employees that had been there but never been on the plan. So they were left behind, kind of in my vision. So we tried to make right or wrong, I guess would be the best solution I had to it, but, I think the process was a little bit flawed on our part. I think our hearts got in the way of our best intentions, so, I offer this resolution to move forward.
Okay, is there a second?
It's already on the floor, bro.
Okay. So you're offering a resolution, it's been seconded, is there any discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Akers.
So I just urge my colleagues, it was a good attempt to right a wrong. It was not met with pleasure by the leadership on the other side, and I would urge everyone to vote against this.
Any other discussion? No further discussion? All in favor? Do you want to do a roll call?
Yes.
Roll call
Right.
Curran,
No.
Forsythe,
No.
Lightfoot,
No.
Sheridan,
no.
Smithers,
No.
Denisha,
No.
Perkins,
No.
Akers,
No.
Fay,
No.
Haggard,
No.
Diaco,
No.
Burke,
No.
Arquette.
No.
Terminelli,
No.
14 no, 1 absent.
Resolution fails. Any other older business from the report?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, to the St. Lawrence students, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. I do want to point out that we had a former hockey player who played for St. Lawrence on this board. It's up to you to figure out who that is, okay? Secondly, tomorrow is International Women's Day. This day's been celebrated since 1914. It began because people were seeking the right to vote and gender equality. So maybe next year we'll have a resolution to recognize International Women's Day. The theme for it this year is gender equality leads to sustainability. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. No more, go ahead, Mr. Dinesh.
Mr. Chairman, there was an email sent out a couple weeks ago in regards to financial disclosure forms. And I understand the reason for all of us that are on the board and those that are on policy-making boards. But remember, last year, we had this discussion around financial disclosure forms for advisory board members. And we talked with Attorney Button, I believe you talked to the ethics board, and it was ruled or was deemed that we did not have to, volunteers on advisory boards were not required to fill out financial disclosure forms. So what I'm looking for is some further advice, so we can put this, we don't have to revisit it every year.
I'd be more than happy to speak to it if you'd like me to, Chair. If you'll recall, last year, the Board of Ethics was subjected to an audit. They were one of several counties who had their Board of Ethics that was audited by the state. One of the recommendations the state made as part of that audit was that the Board of Ethics require that all members from the advisory boards, regardless of whether or not they were policymaking, submit to the financial annual disclosure statements that would provide information regarding their investments, their household composition, as well as their involvement with outside entities that may contract with the county. Following that event, as that audit result came out so closely to the requirement to file each year, there was a request that was made by Legislator Terminelli that an exemption be granted for last year that would allow people to essentially ease into the situation, knowing full well that they may be subjected to it in the successive year. The Board of Ethics actually reviewed the request granted an exemption for that singular year and identified that in order to make that a permanent requirement, a permanent exemption, that the Board of Legislators would most likely need to modify the local law to reflect who was mandated to be an annual financial disclosure filer. In the course of the past year, that modification did not take place. So here we are again at the annual time in which financial disclosure statements are filed. Mr. Denisha actually spoke to me about it and inquired as to whether or not the exemption could be extended an additional period of time. The Board of Ethics was consulted, and the Board of Ethics indicated that were the board to inquire if they had reason for why that financial disclosure statement period exemption should be granted in this period for the various non-policy making individuals, they'd be willing to entertain that type of request at this time. I indicated that I would speak to Mr. Denisha and relay their suggestion, and I have done so. I believe that brings you all up to speed as to where we are at this process at this time.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, would it require, could it be something as simple as a straw poll among the group this evening, or would it require formal resolution?
Well, I can relate to you what the Board of Ethics communicated with me. Many on the Board of Ethics believe that without good justification, they couldn't understand why someone would raise objection to having to file the financial disclosure statement. The purpose of the financial disclosure statement, obviously, is simply to identify the number and nature of potential conflicts an individual can have with governmental service. They were willing to entertain some type of justification and an explanation as to which boards this may apply to. But a simple resolution that doesn't provide any explanation as to why the board may be in support of this action may not provide the Board of Ethics enough information with which to allow them to act to grant the exemption for this filing year.
The reason that I brought it up this year was because the financial disclosure forms were sent to members of the Fire Advisory Board. Members of the Fire Advisory Board are not policy making. They don't make policies. It's an advisory board. The members that are on the members of the Fire Advisory Board are just like the fire chiefs, volunteer fire chiefs. They're firemen, people that are. We have a couple paid firemen, but there's no policy that's dictated by the Fire Advisory Board. The recommendations that are made to this board, but they're all volunteers. No one is paid, so it seems ludicrous to me that we would expect folks to raise their hands and say, "Hey, I would be a member of this board to help the community." And I understand the financial disclosure form is, it's not a big deal. It takes 10 minutes to fill it out, but I just question the need for it.
Mr. Denisha, I can volunteer this. We were actually quite surprised by the recommendation from the state auditors about having those kinds of folks be involved with filing financial disclosure statements. We've never included them before. And as you pointed out, these aren't individuals that are establishing policy or establishing guidelines or directing the action of outside entities. These are an advisory group. An advisory group, as you rightfully point out, comprised solely of volunteers who are already busy in their other vocations and other times. So that being said, if this board was interested in trying to seek that exemption, my recommendation would be to have someone put something in writing, whether it be from the vice chair or the chair or from the county administrator to the Board of Ethics, identifying what the board's position was and requesting that exemption and allow the Board of Ethics to take it up. I myself don't have the ability to grant any sort of exemption associated with it.
Mr. Smith.
I believe that we have a number of boards in their service that have no financial implications at all. And this is a discouragement from people volunteering to be on those boards. they may just simply wish to not take them, however long it takes, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, to disclose their personal financial affairs to whoever it goes to. So I would be in favor of putting together a resolution to the extent possible that would not have to do this. And I believe
Sure, I told you I could give you the motion, you can talk next. A while ago, and I forgot to think.
No, it's okay. Didn't realize we discussed this long. I have a topic after this, so Nicole would be next.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Manelli?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to echo what both legislators Denisha and Smithers just said. I did bring this forward last year, and unfortunately, we did lose some members of the Environmental Management Service or committee over this same requirement to fulfill these disclosures. Again, these advisory organizations and groups, they're volunteers and they don't procure goods and services through the county. They simply make recommendations, they give us advice at times, and really they just serve the residents of the county in whether it's fire, EMS, environmental issues, fishery advisory boards. And I really do think that we struggle in getting volunteers, and we need to let them be commit and fulfill their volunteer duties without having to disclose what they may see as personal and private information that they don't want access by other individuals. And I'd be happy to support a resolution being brought forward to address this.
Well, I think we're missing the point here. I think our county attorney has clearly stated that the Board of Ethics will rule. So I don't think that we can form a resolution in opposition to what their ruling is. Is that correct, Mr. Button?
Well, the Board of Legislators has the ability actually to propose a modification to local law if it is in disagreement with the Board of Ethics. The Board of Ethics' job is solely as an arbiter to interpret what's been put before them. So with respect to the exemption, with respect to the advisory opinions that they provide, and the exemption is essentially in the form of an advisory opinion, all they're really saying to the Board of Legislators is, unfortunately, our law currently states this. But the beauty of our situation is that the Board of Legislators actually crafted this law and has the ability to amend it if it so chooses.
Purpose.
Mr. Chairman. So that just makes sense for the board to change the local law. So as these advisory boards that aren't making policies to be exempt. That's what I would suggest.
Yeah, and add in the language that is in the name of trying to keep volunteers among people in San Luis County that are on advisory groups or whatever. That's our reasoning.
Mr. Chair, we have a few changes out of that audit. I think Legislator Lightfoot shared the update that the state was looking for as well, that we could make all of those changes at the same time, including this change. And in the meantime, as initially Attorney Button suggested, a letter either from yourself or Vice Chair Denisha, rather than a resolution at this time, might be sufficient to let them know it's under review.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Anyone objected to that approach? Online as well.
No objections?
Okay, we can do that. Thank you.
So
This is a piece of just the communication or education for our students that are here. Board of Legislators have to file. So we're a policy making board, we create laws. We have to state where we own properties, if we have relatives working for the county, and any of our commercial interests. Not in great detail, but it's required. And these are our volunteers for advisory, whether it's environmental management council, or fish and wildlife, or whatever. Next, there's many committees.
any other discussion? Okay, we'll put something together. Moving on to the committee reports, does anyone have any?
No.
Go ahead, read it. Go ahead.
So, new business, in January, Walter Rowling came in and he discussed the ISO New York electricity procurement system and how electricity is divvied up around the state and where we get it and how they decide what days they need the cogen plants to go online and provide extra electricity so that the grid is served in a timely manner. We had a day in August last year and one in February this year where we came very close to meeting our maximum capacity for the state and had everything online. In February, we passed a resolution saying that we are against the idea of banning wood burning as a form of heat or, in your house. And I noticed that they just proposed state legislation that would say that the only way you could heat your house going forward with new builds are electricity heat only, which, according to what Mr. Rowling told us back in January, would overwhelm the system. And what we currently have right now, it would not be able to support it. I know there's areas down in Long Island that they had problems getting natural gas over to the areas, so that might make sense for them. But we don't have the capacity in the state right now to provide the kind of electricity that they're talking about. So it would make me a little bit concerned, and maybe we should look at what our stance is on this mandate, where they want everything to be new, built with electricity only, no gas, and certainly no burning wood to heat your house. Just a thought.
Legislation.
Mr. Riddle, we talked about, and I am an environmentalist. I understand how important it is to conserve our environment. However, in the last 10 years, we've lost 250,000 acres of farmland in New York State to solar arrays. 250,000 acres. Now, you can't raise crops on it, you can't raise cattle on it. I guess sheep and goats can eat around the bases of it. It's interesting because I just returned home from North Carolina. And on Interstate 70, I've never seen so many solar arrays. It's crazy. And the bizarre thing is they're using prime farmland, prime cropland to build the solar arrays on. And then they're taking forests and they're clear cutting forests to make farmland. Or in some cases, they're clear cutting forests for the solar arrays. Forests are lungs in the earth. So it seems like we talk about the solar and trying to do good things, but it's just we're eventually we're killing ourselves one way or the other. So.
Ms. Haggard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is complicated, and I understand where Legislator Denise and some of the other people have talked about using farmland, but my concern goes back to that individual farm and farmer who's a small farmer who can't farm anymore because they're kind of been pushed out by larger farms, and they have an opportunity to sell their land. Are we standing in the way of that? Or is this something that's made individually with private land? So I'm not sure that we can tell people how they use their land or how they sell their land or who they sell it to. Thank you.
Mr. Arco.
I believe that what Legislator Haggard is referring to would be our ability to provide some type of incentive to it's either the industry, the private sector industry that are coming up to set them up, pilot programs or things like.
We lost you again.
you know? And, our cogen plant in Messina takes up about 2 acres, it makes 50 megawatts, right? No? At full capacity, that's what they listed it as. Yeah.
Megawatts?
Kilowatt, sorry. That's confusing sometimes, but anyways, so much more production than you could put. I think you said you'd have to have 1,000 acres of land to make that same thing, and then you've got to have sunshine all the time, or you end up like poor people did in Texas when they had just wind and solar. So I think we just need to think about it before we legislate that people can only use electric. We should probably make sure that we can make that kind of electric sustainably every day, all day. Or you're gonna end up like California with those rolling black.
Please enter the meeting
Where
passcode
they
followed by
decide
the pound
who
sign.
doesn't have electricity on what day, because I guarantee population wise, it wouldn't be the big cities that were without electricity.
Any further discussion? Mr. Akers?
So I am a farmer. Am I correct? Farmer to aggregates, not large farmers forcing out small farmers. Small farmers deciding this is a lot of work. And it is a public business. You're from the Western New York, Ithaca area. Those are some of the prime lands. We have some class 2, but most of it's 3 and 4. Marginal land, but we get precipitation. So you're right. We don't want to impinge upon small farmers that don't have anybody to take over their farm, that they have this opportunity that they can actually lease out their land for 15, 20-year leases and get roughly about $1,000 an acre for that land on a yearly basis. Where if they leased it out to another farmer, they would get anywhere from $50 to $100 per acre. So you can see it provides them with a nice alternative income. The reality is there wouldn't be any solar up here at all without the tax incentives. It would not be, from a free market standpoint, a viable option for somebody to produce or put up a solar field. Solar for your own home, residential, for sure. You pay off heating your water and things of that nature. But these commercial outlets, they're only here because of the opportunities, the tax credits. My farm, we've lost about 200 acres within a 4-mile radius of my place. And some of that land is actually pretty good land. And that's impacting. So, and if you look at it, is that by the year 2050, we're going to need 100% more food than we have right now, because we're going to be moving to 9 and 10 billion people. Where's that come from when there's only about 15 to 20% arable land left to actually harvest? And some of that is what you're saying, because actually trees are being removed here to produce tillable land, and good land is actually that can be utilized for agriculture and producing food is being moved into solar. And I mean, it's gotten so such a problem is that when solar is operating and the windmills are operating, that our infrastructure, which is a real problem, can't handle the line. It's like a pipeline that can handle, for example, 5 gallons a minute coming through, just say, for example, in your home or whatever. And so when everything's flowing, what's happening is you got 10 gallons a minute trying to force into that 5 gallons a minute pipeline, you can't handle it. So what's happening now in our hydro facility here on the St. Lawrence, which was built in the 50s, I think believe the water is allowed to flow through. So it's not generating any electricity, which the expense has already been made. And hydro is very efficient. And so because all this comes online and our infrastructure can't handle it, it's passing through to the ocean. And we're losing out on that opportunity as a result of these tax incentivized programs. I know Senator from Manhattan that's actually proposed this all electricity. Well, that may be fine for New York City. I would imagine that all the chefs in New York City are going to be shutting down in protest because they aren't going to be producing any restaurant meals because they use natural gas. And natural gas is clean. And I tell my liberal friends or people that are interested in a green environmental, the failure for them to actually consider nuclear power is I can't take you seriously or them seriously if they're not considering nuclear power. France has had nuclear power that produces 70 to 80% of their actual needs. If you look at the battle here that we've got going on right now in Ukraine, what is it about? It's about controlling natural resources. Ukraine has beautiful farmland, much like we have in Illinois, in Iowa, and large, with the socialism that was there before, large tracts of land, and the natural gas lines that go through there. So the battle is for energy. So we can either produce our own fossil fuel energy and natural gas, or we can start moving towards nuclear. If you want to be a carbon free, we need to be started moving towards nuclear. I mean, this isn't a resolution. I hope you bring forth a resolution this current at our next meeting, but it certainly is at the forefront here today. You look at the war in Ukraine and everything that we're facing, the higher energy costs, very political and environmental. So there's your local scene here impacting local ability here to produce food and impacting farmers for dairy products, for meat and lamb or whatever.
What's the lifespan on a solar panel?
So I think these folks probably know better than I, but I would say the students, I think some of these leases are for 25 and 30 years.
30.
I think the expected lifespan is about 20 years.
My question is, what do we do with them after 25, 30 years? Millions and millions of pounds?
Depends
Yes.
how good your contract is, there for removal or whatever.
That's right. You're right, Karen.
Mr. Parker?
Well, I was just, I wasn't, but the decommissioning deals are being put together by the IDA and some other professional entities. But what I was gonna say was the professor had a concern about students being home early enough for class more after that speech right there. I don't think anybody needs to go to school tomorrow. That was,
Thank you.
there was a lesson far and wide right there. So I think you guys are all set for tomorrow.
That's a motion to move on.
Please.
Go ahead, Ms. Carter.
So I have a second topic, I know you're gonna be so glad about this. So we always talk about the old jail and what do we do with the old jail because the building is just kind of sitting there and it needs obviously to be repaired and sort of put back where we can use it as something. But we've talked to people about the idea of refurbishing it and making a gym that the employees can use. Because if we learned nothing else in COVID, some of the employees have asked for that to go around. They were like, we would really like that. So one of the things we learned in COVID is that the predominant people who were affected the worst by COVID were the people who had multiple comorbidities, that were out of shape, that were very unhealthy. And so now is a good time in the history of medicine to be thinking about talking to people about health promotion, being healthy and staying healthy, exercise, good diet, things like that, instead of becoming unhealthy and being affected by things that maybe you wouldn't be if you had better health. So Renee and I had talked about a gym. There was other people that were interested, but everybody always talks about what do you do with the old jail. I think that would be a fabulous idea.
Mr. Forsythe?
Well, we've been talking about that old jail since 2010, I believe, and it's still the old jail. If you're gonna talk about different options, what about a daycare facility? We have 800 employees. If anything we learned during childcare and COVID, it's a nightmare. You know, kids having to stay home from school, how do you arrange your schedules? Maybe we ought to look into a daycare operation in the old jail.
Probably enough room to do both.
Yeah, with the gym.
With the gym.
Ms. Hager? Ms. Hager?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to point out, as I frequently do, I agree with my colleague, my Republican colleague, Mr. Forsythe. That's a great idea. We need that.
We'll keep that up here and.
I got Mark in my book.
Nicole. All right. Nicole?
Oh, I was just going to add into the idea that if we put an eatery there, then our staff could also enjoy lunch with their children on their lunch break and then work out and do family fitness together in the afternoon. That would be really promoting some quality work environment for our employees.
Any further older new business?
Just a comment, as a committee of American Rescue Funds, We are considering proposals dealing with childcare and also a project possibly that include some type of recreational facilities for our employees. So we're in the beginning stages. We've listened to Renee. We have this project that Mrs. Doyle is considering and getting the American Rescue Plan guidance. So that's Mr. Dan Fay, who owns the Hoot Owl, if you get in trouble. That's who you get Mr. Fay here. And Jim Reagan is not here, and Mr. Arclay. So those are all under consideration this week.
Mr. Forsythe. And that would be considered a new structure, so. Nice.
Good point. Okay, let's move on to committee reports. Anybody got a committee report? If not, we'll go into, is there a need to go into executive session, Ruth?
Yes, Mr. Chair, for litigation, negotiations, personnel, and that includes the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation, and appointments.
Move for executive session by Ms. Kern, second by Mr. Smithers. Any discussion? All in favor of going to executive session?
Aye.
Sorry for the county administrator. I move this resolution.
Seconded by Ms. Kern
Second.
and Mr. Lightfoot. Anyone, I see nodding heads, but that means you're seconding?
Wait for this.
Okay, you are second. Mr. Fay seconds it as well. Okay. And Mr. Arkwood second.
We added as co-sponsor.
Okay, co-sponsor. You added it as a co-sponsor?
Please.
Okay, okay. Any further discussion? Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, now with the appointments. Mr. Lightfoot.
Mr. Chairman, I offer the following for the listed committee assignments that they are interested in obtaining. For Community Services Board, term to expire 12/31/25, Elizabeth Turner, North Lawrence, New York. For Community Services OPWDD Subcommittee, term to expire 12/31/25, Howard W. Ganter, Glen Park, New York. For the Youth Advisory Board, terms to expire January 31st, 2024, Lindsay Best, Harrisville, New York, Patty Fisher, Madrid, New York, Michael Hammond, Rensselaer Falls, New York, Tricia Snyder, Kenton, New York, Carrie Tonight, Ogdensburg, New York. And I move these for approval.
It's been moved by Mr. Lightfoot. Is there a second? Mr. Fay seconds it. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Mr. Akers.
Mr. Chairman, I offer for appointment to the Fish and Wildlife Management Board, Region 6, Greg Howe of Canton. And for reappointment to the Fish and Wildlife Management Board for Region 6, Rita Curran of Messina. To the Fisheries Advisory Board, Robert Flavin of Ogdensburg, Donald Lucas of Messina, Michael Seymour of Canton. I move these appointments.
Okay, it's been motion been made. Mr. Dinesh seconds it. Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. My appointments for the Ogdensburg River Property Committee is the chair will be Legislator Lightfoot, and we'll have Legislators Reagan, Legislators Forsythe, and Dan Fay, and I'll be the ex officio. Is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Clerk makes a motion, seconded by Mr. Feathers. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Adjourn.
Yeah, I'm gonna try and set that meeting for Wednesday.